Good evening. Daf Mem Bet Amud Aleph. A few lines from the top. We just brought another answer as to what Shor Hanaki, the owner, is clean. Rabbi Akiva said it's saying that Rabbi Akiva said that you're patur if you killed a fetus, and Rabbi Akiva said he doesn't like that answer because we already know that in the pasuk of men are fighting and they hit a lady. You're chayav men and not oxen, so why we need a pasuk to teach me about oxen? Shapir Kama Rabbi Akiva said, listen, Rabbi Akiva had a good point. What would Rabbi Akiva respond to that? When I said Marav Ula Bered Rav Idi, Itzrich. He says, no, you still need the pasuk. Why? Maybe you might think that when it says men, it means men, and also animals that are like men, which means ma anashim mu'adin asharim mu'adin. Just like men are always considered mu'ad, so too maybe mu'ad animals should also be in that context. Therefore, hatam mahayev, right? So therefore, sorry, there's like so to mu'ad, and therefore maybe a tam should be hayav as well. And therefore, the pasuk says, meaning. Let's go back. Sorry, just like men mu'ad are patur, so too oxen who are mu'ad should be patur. But a tam should be chayav. Therefore, the pasuk had to write, "Katav Rachmana ba'ashur nakid the patur." The Gemara says, "Amar Rava, yatziva be'ara v'giyora b'shmei shmaya." The citizens on the ground and the quote unquote the aliens in the Shemaim. What a backwards way of thinking that the mu'ad will be patur, but the tam will be chayav. Usually it's the opposite. You're reading more machmir on the mu'ad, not on the tam. So the terminology actually is interesting. How they had this problem back in that day also regarding the immigrants. The immigrants are always treated better than the natives of the land. See, very applicable nowadays. Different explanation according to Besag Lili. Maybe you might think it means men and not oxen compared to men. Just like men are muad, so two oxen are muad. And therefore, we're going to call chomer that animal tams are for sure patur. Therefore, it teaches you tam patur umuad chayav, that the muad is chayav. The same halacha should apply also to bullshit, humiliation, paying for embarrassment. Just like the owner of the ox is patur, so to the tam should be patur, and muad will be chayav. Men, and also men are chayav, but also the tam should be patur. Men and not oxen like men. Just like men are muat, so oxen are muat would be patur. But kavachom tamin deptiri, and therefore for sure a tam is patur. Right, the opposite way looking at it. Therefore, the Torah needs to teach you no, only a tam patur, but a muad is chayav. Maybe that would actually be a good way of explaining it, and therefore a muad should be chayav. But we say no. Rabbi Yosef really Omer Patur Midmei Boshet. If that's the case, then the Braita would have to specify that the pasuk says Naki, and Rabbi Yosef is saying on that they are Patur from the fetus and from humiliation, right? So therefore, he doesn't limit it to anything by humiliation or fetuses. It sounds like it's not nothing to do with limiting the Hayuvin by a tam. Therefore, if they explain Rabbi Yosef differently. Both explain according to Rabbi Saglili that Anashim, the pasuk says men, en ason be'isha yanshu. In regarding to men, there's no death, right? If the woman does not die when they hit the fetus, they have to be punished monetarily. Yesh ason be'isha lo yanshu. But if the woman dies, you're patur for money because they are chayav mitzah. But regarding the oxen, that's not the case. Even if it's a death, the owner is still chayav for damages. Therefore, the pasuk got the right. The patur. Therefore, it teaches you that you are patur. Let's keep flat of right. This is the fact that whether or not there's a death is a difference in the halacha. That the deciding factor in the halacha of the monetary damages payments. The kavanah payment of the halacha is dependent on intention. Only if he wanted to kill. Right, as I was saying before, the intention, the whole point of that pasuk was you tried to hit one guy and you hit the pregnant lady. In our case, also our Mishnah, try to hit one guy, hit someone else, goy, not a Jew, etc. So the Gemara says has to re-explain it as Ella Marrav Ada Barahava. Anashim ki nitkavnu ze leze afagav sheyesh ason b'yishaya anjo. Regarding to men, if they try to kill each other, then even if the woman died, you shall pay monetarily. Ki nitkavnu isha atzma lo yanshu. But if they actually tried to kill a woman and they killed her, you're patur for money because you didn't try to kill her, because you killed her in your chayam mitah. But oxen are even more stringent. If even if it tried to kill her, you still have to pay money. Therefore, the pasuk to come teach you that you are patur. Also, when Rav Haggai came from the south, right, Rabbi? Because then Rav Ada Baraba, he brought a Braita that actually taught him the same vein as Rav Ada Baraba. Tanidach different Braita. Balashor Naki, the pasuk says that the owner is patur. Is Rabbi Akiva Omer Nakim Medme Ayvet. He's patur if the ox killed an Ayvet. Venema, turn the page, read. Venema Rabbi Akiva and Avshem. Rabbi Akiva is saying the same halacha regarding Chatzi Kofer. By law, why would it be a chayav for the slave if you only have to pay for half damages of the animal? Just because it's tam. And because this ox is gonna die, there's no value, so therefore you should patur. Have you betin v'shalem lecha? Give the ox to betin and let it pay you. Marav Shmuel bar Yitzchak kishdam ba'alav v'sharto. Referring to the case we already slaughtered it before it was sentenced. Therefore, since the ox was never sentenced to death, the body is mutar. But we only said nechvar dino, but it's not yet dead. Maybe you might think that it should be paid from the body of the ox, Kamash Malan, since the ox was supposed to die. Since it was supposed to die, even if you did slaughter it, you can't pay through it. Maybe the case of Lezer also is referring to the case where the owner preemptively slaughtered it. Gemara says, it's true. Right, so in a chanai, it'd be true that the half kofar could be cut from the body. Gemara says, but he thought maybe Rabbi Elazar had a different reason, and that's why he waited for an answer, but never allowed to tell him. So how come he didn't mention the case of the preemptive slaughter to avoid paying damages when the ox killed by an accident? Amarlach, Rabbi Elazar would tell you that no, the case of the accidental killing does not apply. In this case, over there in the case of we're talking about is when the ox tried to kill an animal and kill a person by accident. Because in that case, we don't kill the ox because it wasn't trying to kill a person. Now you might think that you should be chayav for half kofar. Therefore, the pasuk teaches you they're patur from kofar. But over here, if they tried to kill a person and they killed the person, right? They just killed the wrong one. You know it's supposed to die. And therefore, there will be no kofar. Therefore, you don't need to make the guy patur even if he preemptively slaughtered the animal. And according to Rabbi Akiva, also he would agree to this. It sounds perfectly normal, and therefore he would be patur from paying for the eved as well. Why would it sound like there's a machloket going on here? I heard this from a big rabbi. Umanu, who is it? Rabbi Yosef ibn Hanina, and he says as follows: you might think that even though the ox is getting killed for killing a slave, you still has to teach you the patur from paying the fee of killing a slave, which is 30 coins, like we saw in the Mishnah. Because why? Since Rabbi Akiva also mentioned that when the tam injures a person, the owner has to pay the extra damages in full if it was a mu'ad. Therefore, maybe when he kills the slave, maybe you should pay from property, even though the animal's getting killed, and you're paying 30, and the 30 coins should be paid from top property. Therefore, the Torah tells you patur. Rabbi Akiva already Rabbi Akiva already, quote unquote, broken his fist on it. He already established this is the halakha. He already qualified that this is the halakha, that you're paying full damages to a person who was wounded by an animal. Because the time we've seen it right there, Rabbi Akiva, maybe you might think in a case where the tam wounded someone, the owner has to pay full damages from aliyah, from property, versus the animal itself. Talmud Damar, Kam Mishpat Hazeh Ye'aseh Lo. Pasuk says in this halakha that the judgment shall be done to it. Because it's the tam you pay from the ox and not from property. Therefore, Rebbe Kiva holds that tam always pays from its body and not from property. Elamar Ravala Itzrich. Therefore, Ravata explained the pasuk is still required according to Rebbe Kiva. Sadar Chamina or El Umahmirani be'avid yoter ben horin. Since you might think maybe I'm more strict by an evid more than a regular person, a free guy, if it was killed by a muad, sheben horin yafeh selav ben because of ben horin, you're paying whatever the guy's worth. So if he's worth 1 coin, you're paying 1 coin. 5 coins, 5 coins. However, Shoshim ten Shoshim, right? If he's 30, 30, Shoshim. Even if by an Evid you're more machmir. Even if it's worth 1 coin or 2 coins, you're still paying 30 no matter what, because it's a fixed price by an Evid. Therefore, maybe if it kills a slave, even if it's a tam, you should pay property and not from the animal. Therefore, Torah teach you that you are patur. Tanakh proof according to Rava, Mabraita. Balashor Naki, the Pasuk says Patur, Rabbi Akiva Omer, Naki midme Eved Patur from an Eved. Baladinu, because you have Kava Homer, Oil Vechiyab Eved Vechiyab Ben Harin. Since Torah holds your Chayav, whether or not your animal killed a Eved, 30 coins, or a regular guy you're paying Kother, just like by a free man, you differentiated on the price or the payment amount based on whether the animal is a tam or a muad. And additionally, sorry, so to buy Evan, also you should differentiate between tam and muad. Even additional kavachomer. Uma ben horin shinotin kol shvavyao, just like by a free man, if the owner gave that guy his entire worth of kofar, right? He paid the entire sum. Still, there's differentiation if it's tam, whether it's tam or muad, meaning half or full. Regarding an ebed, you're automatically paying 30. So also we should make a difference. Between tam muad, maybe you should pay 15. Tomorrow says la, no. Mahmirani be'ebed return ben horin. The ebed's more stringent than a free person. Sheben horin yefes lam tensela. Shoshim potentially shim. It was one worth one, you pay 1. 30, 30. The eved yefes lam potential shim yachol chayav. Mudamar bashunaki midme eved. And eved, even if it's worth 1, you're paying 30. So maybe you might think you're mahmir by tam. Mashplan, you're not. The pasuk says you're patur. Okay, tomorrow. No brighter. Vehemit ish o isha. And it killed a man or a woman. What does it mean teach all? Kill a man or a woman. If you're trying to say that you're chayav for a muad animal that kills for cover, just like for a woman, just like a man, how do I come on the got short at ish or isha? We have a different passage that says man or woman. We're making a hekesh, equating that what? Ma ish nizakav liyorshav, af isha nizakel liyorshav. Just like a man, if he dies before he collects his payment, you still have to give the payment of his damages to his Yorshin, his inheritors. So too, the woman as well, you have to give it. Not to her husband, but rather to her kids or whatever. But Kiva hold that the husband is an inheritor. Sounds like no, you don't give it to the husband, you give it to the kids. But the husband shall inherit her. Mikan is a clear pasuk. The husband inherits his wife's property. So why over here does it say seemingly we're excluding that? The husband inherits everything except for kofar. Because it's only paid after her death. And therefore, it's an asset that does not belong to him. Therefore, the husband does not take a prospective asset like her assets. Meaning, if she has a property that's in front of us that she brought into the marriage, yes, he inherits that. But this is something that only comes into being after her death. Literally, she gets killed. The payment that comes out when she gets killed does not go to the husband. My time, why doesn't it go to her? Him. Pasuk says regarding a muad, kill a man or a woman, the ox shall be killed, and the owner shall die. When kofar shall be paid, meaning just like the ox is sentenced to death after the animal died, so too kofar is assessed after the person died. Right, and when the pasuk says the owner dies, it does not mean he dies. He has to pay kofar to clear him of dying, to instead of him dying. But in that regard, Rabbi Akiva hold by damages, the husband should still have to inherit his wife. right? It says, if a guy hit a woman and her child was miscarried because of that, he gives damages and pain to the woman, with and the value of the baby, the fetus that died to the husband. But the husband, if the husband's not alive, the damages is if the husband's not alive, you give it to the Yoroshin, to the inheritors. In a Yishar, If the woman's not alive, you give it to her children, her heirs, not to the husband. She was a free woman, and then she was freed after this situation happened. She converted, and therefore she's not related to anybody else from the prior. Zacha, she gets it. So we see over there that the husband does get it. Uh, the husband does not get it in the case she dies. So referring to a case where she dies, and that's she's divorced, and that's why the husband doesn't inherit it because they're already divorced. Nachman establishes the case that she's divorced. Amri girusha nami tiflok b'dmei madot. A divorcee should also divide with the value of the fetus with her husband, according to these hachamim. Since he's not married to her, he shouldn't have the full payment of the fetus there. They should split it. Why does he get the whole fetus payment? The Torah awarded the value of the fetus to the husband, because the one who caused her to get pregnant. Even if she became pregnant without being married, a wedlock. Okay, my time out. Why does he? Who says where we're that from? Because Pasuk says that the one who hit her shall be punished as the husband shall cause to be assessed. The Pasuk is showing that the husband or the father of this fetus is the one who's getting assessed for the damages. Maybe it's why did Rabban Rahman establish the case as the divorce woman? Maybe let's say that the case of the right is referring to the case where the woman died and the Betin collected the damages, and Rahman Kigon Shagavu Karka. And the Kon Hamim was a case where they collected not cash, but rather they collected property. And therefore, the Amar Rabba, we'll see right now, by property he doesn't collect. Amar Rabba, Gavu Karka Yeshlo. If the inheritors collected property from money that was owed, the firstborn kid has a right to it. Gavu ma'ot en lo, but if we cash, he doesn't get it. This is gavu ma'ot yesh lo, gavu karka en lo. Right, so see the opposite. In the case of karka, there's no right. The inheritors don't have rights. Therefore, also by the husband, he wouldn't have any right because it's property. Maybe that's the case. Why does it say divorce, etc.? Where it says Amri, that only applies regarding debts owed to the inheritors. In the case of the Chachamim in the West, meaning those rabbis hold that a loan is considered an asset. Therefore, they would hold that it transfers over. But over here, Ibrahim says regarding a divorcee, can it be the holy Chachamim who holds that's considered an asset and therefore it should pass over? Therefore, that established our case as a divorcee to show that the husband does not get it. An ox that killed a slave by mistake, the ox doesn't die. And it's patur mishashim tukim. It's also patur from the payment that goes for killing an eved. If it killed a slave or maidservant, you pay 30 shekels to the master, and the ox shall die. That means, it sounds like, only when the ox is getting killed, that's when you pay the 30 shekels. But if the shore is not getting killed, like in this case, for a mistake, in that case, there is no payment of the shekalim.